Good afternoon to you. 406 here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Bill Woolf will be with us, Republican Virginia State Senate candidate. We'll talk about the well-being of the children of the Commonwealth, despite the left's best efforts. Mike Davis will be with us at 5 o'clock from the Article 3 Project to discuss the arrest and mugshot of the former president of the United States. And we'll talk to you at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I want to get to some of the presidential campaign reactions to this because the Republican primary opponents had things to say about this. But first, let's get another phone call in here from Michael calling in from Texas on line 6. Michael, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello.
Yeah, Vince, thank you for taking my call. I listen to you every single day down here in Texas. But you interview people better than anyone I know.
Oh man, thanks, Mike.
A little bit. I'm just nervous. A little bit about this town in New Braunfels is between Austin and San Antonio, and it's like blood red down here. It's a very conservative Republican town, and I did run for Congress for U.S. and then I ran for mayor of this town, and you do run into a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, and a lot of different type of Republicans.
Sure.
And you do have a lot of Trump Republicans and a lot of never Trumpers. And for the past, I'm not kidding, for the past few hours and days after the debate and whatever happened last night, these guys that are never Trumpers are really mad, and they are actually going to vote for Trump. They keep calling me. I'm like, French, this is bad, but you know what? That's what's happening, Vince. I'm telling you the truth. That's what's happening.
When you say never Trumpers, these are people who didn't vote for him in, say, either election, 2016 or 2020?
2020. Now, 2016, I didn't really get a chance to ask them about that. But 2020, these people, they voted for someone else. And some of them didn't even vote. And I just couldn't believe it. This is a blood red town. And it's just, I can't believe it. But there's a few of them I kept calling, and a few of them I get emails from saying, "Look, this is bad. I got the mugshot. I'm trying to make a T-shirt out of it," and I'm like, "That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable."
So, what do you think is motivating them? Is it the failure of the Biden administration, just the terrible state of our country under Joe Biden? Is it the abuse of Biden's political opponents is the primary driver here, or some combination of that?
The one thing that they are saying to me is that we cannot be a communist country, and we're going down that road by persecuting and prosecuting our political opponents. And they see that's exactly what's going on with President Trump. They're seeing that they're doing that to him, and they're going to support Trump. That's what they're saying to me, that they got to stop this. They got to stop it. And a lot of them are saying they don't even want to go after his opponents. If Trump is elected, they don't want to go and persecute the other side. And I understand that because they don't want to go down that road of a kind of a direct democracy type situation. They just don't want to persecute political opponents, especially during, it was freedom of speech. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this is what's going on in a very big town that's a very conservative town, and there's a mix of type of Republicans. Of course, you're going to have the rhinos, but they are never Trumpers that are emailing me saying, "French, you know who I am. I'm going for Trump this time." It's unreal. That's
Michael,
did you?
Michael, did you say that they also saw the debate and this is how they came to this conclusion?
Now, it's funny. Okay, the debates. There was people that did not watch the debate. They watched the X. Okay, and they saw the numbers. Okay, and then a few days later they watched the debate. And there's a lot of them that watched the debate and they were not impressed at all. They were just not impressed. They're like, "Is this what we have?" They were upset mainly that Larry Elder didn't go on. They were like, Larry Elder is a very smart guy.
Larry Elder, just so people know, because I wish I had focused on this some more earlier this week, but Larry Elder had said, "Look, I met all of the qualifications to be on the debate stage. I satisfied everything that the RNC asked of me, and then they didn't let me on the debate stage." So he has filed suit against the Republican National Committee for that. And so there were people who really wanted to see Larry Elder on that stage. I think Larry Elder would have been a net benefit to that stage, regardless of his actual standing in the race.
That's right. And then he is very, very smart. Very smart.
Brilliant.
And I hope that there's a second debate that he's allowed to be on that debate. I don't know we got a good opinion here that the RNC is purposely not going to be a strong. This is not going to be a strong presidency without either Larry Elder or Trump on that stage. It's unreal. They were not impressed. They didn't like Mike Pence. They just did not like, especially Chris Christie. But we are confused down here of how the RNC made the decision to put some of those people up there that just didn't make any reason. I don't even have words for it. There's no
including guys like Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson, who obviously lied on the pledge that they would support the Republican nominee when the front runner has that much of a lead, and Donald Trump is so likely to become the nominee, and they simultaneously say they can't support him. They're violating the pledge that they signed. So the whole thing is ridiculous. Michael, thank you very much for the call. I really appreciate it, sir, from Texas.
No problem, Vince. Thank you very much.
Talk to you. Let me get Mary, who's calling in on line 1 from Opal. Mary, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Vince, it's so nice to talk to you. I just love your show.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to say that before you went on vacation, you were talking to a guy named Billy.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I'm trying to remember which Billy we were speaking to. Corey, do you remember the Billy we were speaking to? Okay.
Billy wondered what to do. He wanted to help. He wanted to do something. He didn't know what to do, and I know what to do. So we heard this through Mark Levin before the 4th of July, that he was talking about reading the Constitution out loud in a group.
Yeah.
And my friend and I did this, and it was great. It takes a while, but you can get these little booklets from the National Center for Constitutional Studies.
Yes.
And they're not very expensive. And we did this, and it took like over an hour. And then, of course, we had questions, and we looked stuff up, and we educated ourselves. And, you know, September 17th is Constitution Day, and September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week. And that was from 2004 Public Law 108-447, Section 111. And most people don't even know that, and it's supposed to be taught in publicly funded schools, the Constitution is, during that time.
Right.
And most people haven't read the Constitution. They don't know what rights they're losing right now. Don't even know why we declared our independence from Great Britain.
Yeah, that's a quick one. The Declaration of Independence is a quick read. Everyone can sit down and do that together as a family pretty quickly, and it's a totally worthwhile experience as well. Yes.
And it's a simple thing to do. And we even got some and we gave them to people. We handed them out. And there was a group in Warrenton. Didn't get to, but on the 4th, and they read the Declaration, like on the courthouse steps.
What did your sons think of the, you said it was your sons you read it with?
No, friends.
Oh, excuse me, your friends you read it with. Okay, but you got together as friends and you all read the Constitution together, and some of it may have been eye-opening, a reminder of what was in there.
Right, and we just took turns reading sections, and it takes a while, but then you if you don't understand a part, you can look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, like in the Declaration, we were trying to figure out, well, what does assent to laws mean? And we looked that up, and that just means the British wouldn't let us make our own laws here. And, there's a lot of things. Some of the language is difficult, but do it.
That's awesome.
Article 4, Section 4 has to do with defending our borders, which is not being done. And you'll realize how many things are going completely wrong, that this administration is violating so many parts of the Constitution.
Yep.
And it's a simple thing to do. And you can do it, in your family. You could do it with coworkers. You could do it at church, with a church group or something, any kind of group. And these booklets are really inexpensive, and they also have videos and other kinds of books there, too.
All right. Well, Mary, this is all really good advice, and it's a good reminder to go back to the founding documents and one of the I don't do they still teach the Constitution in school? Like, did you have to learn the preamble? I remember when I was a kid, I had to learn the preamble. We all had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution, which seemed like a valuable exercise. It is a valuable exercise to do. And because it just summarizes the basics throughout that document of what the whole point is and what we the people set out to do in the first place. So, Mary, thank you for that. That's a smart idea. I mentioned a moment ago that I wanted to play some of this audio of these Republican presidential candidates reacting to the news of Trump's latest arrest yesterday. Let me start with Ron DeSantis, because he is technically in second place. He was at the Field of Dreams yesterday in Dyersville, Iowa, taking some swings with a wooden baseball bat and campaigning. And he was asked about this split screen with him at the Field of Dreams and Donald Trump being arrested in Georgia at that moment. Here's how he answered.
Governor, what do you think about this split screen of you here in the Field of Dreams and former President Trump being arrested in Georgia?
Well, I'm glad I'm at the Field of Dreams. I'm happy to be here.
Anything else? Anything else at all? He just was glad to be campaigning. Look, I get it. If you're Ron DeSantis, you probably feel some personal animus now towards Trump because of Trump's attacks on you. You've got to get over that. You've got to get past that, because you have to realize that if you're going to actually compete in this race, and if this is going to be a primary that ends up with a different result other than Trump, the only way that happens is if you actually appeal to Trump's base. And if you, more importantly, forget just appealing to Trump's base, more importantly, standing up to the injustice that we are seeing playing out in front of you. The American people, specifically Republican voters, are looking to see whether or not you know what time it is. Are you wearing your rhetorical watch? Your metaphorical watch? Are you wearing it? Do you recognize what time it is in the country? How dangerous things have gotten. Speak up. Sometimes DeSantis is good on this. Other times he takes some time to finally release a statement. He does the kind of the wait and see approach. And those are whiffs, man. The people detect that. Meanwhile, Vivek Ramaswamy reacted right away last night. He was over on Fox with Laura Ingraham, and here's what he had to say.
I think this is shameful, Laura. This is an indictment not of Donald Trump, but of our national civic health, that we have gotten to a place where we have a party in power that will use any charge in any jurisdiction for at the same time in the middle of an election designed, mark my words, to stop their lead political rival currently from running. And I'm saying this coming out of a debate last night that went really well in many national polls. I'm now in second. It would be easier for me if my competitor in this primary, Donald Trump, were eliminated from competition. But that is not how I want to win. That is not grounded in principle. We are skating on thin ice as a country right now, Laura. And I think this takes us one step further in the wrong direction. We have to stand on the side of principle, not politics. That goes for everybody in this GOP primary, and I've been vocal for a reason.
Look, you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, who's obviously a smart guy, but you don't have to be a hotshot political strategist to come up with an answer like that. That is a softball. That's just take the swing. So if you're Ron DeSantis's answers should sound the exact same as Ramaswamy's here. Our country is in a perilous moment. This is evidence of that. The left is abusing its power. It is arresting its political opponents. It would be better for me if he was removed from this race because it would give me an advantage, and that's not how I want to win. That's what Vivek Ramaswamy is saying. Others should be saying the same thing. Anyway, kudos to Vivek with an excellent answer there, because he's right about this.
Hey, thanks, Vince. We had DeSantis standing at home plate at the Field of Dreams, batter up. He asked the question, and as you said, he whiffed badly. If anybody doesn't espouse what Vivek said, all those candidates should be asked that question, and they should all be eliminated if they don't espouse what Vivek said, in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's right. You have to recognize what is happening in this country, identify it, because that's the only way we know that you can attack it. If you can't identify it, you can't fix it. So that's what DeSantis should have done. So as you point out, he was on the Field of Dreams. He struck out, Glenn. Thank you for that. I appreciate that call. Let me take John in Fairfax, line 4 now. John is calling in. Hello, John.
Hey, Dan, it's a great show as always. Look, as an African American, one of the things that I deeply feel a certain intensity about is that of history, right? And once again, our left is absent of the facts and absence of history. They just don't know sometimes, I think, or ignore it. Did they realize that Fulton County Prison is where Dr. Martin Luther King was also arrested for his constitutional liberties and participation in a sit-in demonstration in 1960? Mm-hmm. I think this is an important piece here because you mentioned earlier about standing up for justice. Our country is in a perilous time, and I'm a 60s baby. I think we are still there, so your listeners will have to pardon me for the analogy and the comparison there, obviously, right? But there's still history that matters. Here is Donald Trump getting arrested and in the same prison that an iconic figure as Martin Luther King was as well. Now, what was significant about that, there was a groundswell of the civil rights movement during that period of time as well. And I think the same thing is going to happen in this case also. And I think we're seeing evidence of it.
Because what you're looking at is Donald Trump's civil rights being trampled. You're looking at all of his associates, his lawyers having their civil rights trampled. You're looking at his supporters, people who dissent from the Biden regime having their civil rights trampled. And so you think that this is all leading up to a resurgence, a civil rights renaissance in this country. You're optimistic about what's next.
I'm optimistic about what's next. We're seeing evidence of it now because you're getting arrested for what is your God-given constitutional rights.
Yes. Yep. No, you're totally right about that, John. And once again, it's Democrats in Fulton County, Georgia, who are trampling all over those constitutional rights, whether it's Martin Luther King or, in this case, Donald J. Trump. Stay with us. Well, good afternoon to you. It's 4:35 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up today, we'll be joined by Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project at 5 o'clock. We'll talk about the arrest and photograph of the 45th President of the United States, what he thinks of the state of our country right now. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Daily Caller headline for you today. Mom sues school that allegedly hid her daughter's gender identity and led to her trafficking and sexual abuse. The name of the mother, Michelle Blair, is the mother of a teenage girl who briefly identified as a boy, and she is suing the school board, school superintendent, and multiple school counselors after her daughter's school concealed the girl's gender transition from her, that is, the mother. Sage is the girl's name. Her story was the impetus for a Virginia bill that would have required schools to notify parents that their child socially transitioned to another gender. Sage's law would also have prohibited teachers from hiding that transition and would have clarified that, quote, misgendering, that is, calling people by their actual sex and gender, does not qualify as child abuse. State Democrats defeated this bill in February of this year. Sage's parents were accused of child abuse due to concerns that they would, quote, misgender their teenage daughter. That is, use reality. Refer to biology. Sage was repeatedly assaulted as she was allowed to use the boys' bathroom without her parents' knowledge, Blair said in her testimony supporting the bill. At the time, Sage was identified as a boy named Draco. So now the mother is suing the schools for this. For more on this, I want to bring in Bill Woolf. He's a Republican Virginia State Senate candidate for District 30 and a former police detective, also the former head of the Human Trafficking Task Force. Sir, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much.
What do you make of the fact that this mom has to even get this fight to this level?
I think it's really disturbing to understand how people are trying to drive wedges between parents and their children. You mentioned that as a former police officer, I was a human trafficking detective for many years. And one of the things that I consistently saw was a tactic by the traffickers, the human traffickers, was to try to drive a wedge between parents and their kids because they knew they were easier to manipulate and and exploit in those situations. And it's really disturbing to see that our schools and these policies are kind of getting in the way instead of finding better solutions to bring the family together.
So a bill that involves notifying parents about what's going on with their child at school, that seems like the kind of thing that should sail through any common sense legislature. How did it get defeated in Virginia by these Democrats?
You know, I think that there is a war on families right now, and this is one of the main reasons that I'm running to be a state senator here in District 30, serving the people of Manassas Park, and Prince William County. We've got to bring some common sense back, and I think that so many people are quick to jump to conclusions. We see so often where they're not looking for consensus or looking for real solutions. They just want to shout from the rooftops about things that, quite honestly, many of them are not informed about. I've worked human trafficking. I've seen this my entire life. I've seen exploitation. And I think what's critically important to understand about this case is ultimately, because of the actions that happened and because of the separation from the family, Sage was sex trafficked, not once, but twice. And these are things that we have to collectively come together to push back on and to protect our children.
How common is secret keeping and deception in sex trafficking?
That is how the traffickers work. That is their number one tactic. And it really bothers me when we have situations where the schools are telling kids to not talk to their parents, to keep secrets, right? Because that's what traffickers want to do. They want to create isolation. They want to create dependency on the trafficker and pull them away from their families, their support structures, those that love them.
Yes.
And this is the way that they manipulate them.
And when we use a phrase like grooming, I know there's a bunch of lefties for some reason get upset about that, but that is descriptive of what's going on here. No, when you condition a child in order to behave a certain way, you're grooming them. No.
Well, and this is exactly why we need parents involved, right? They know what's best for their child. They've been with them, their entire life. They can understand and see red flags and warning signs. This is one of the reasons why we're hosting a town hall tomorrow night in Manassas on the issue of human trafficking so that the community can be aware of these grooming tactics. But I agree, it's extremely disturbing when you see people that you should be able to trust, maybe some that are even involved in the school systems that are deploying these same types of tactics.
Your opponent in this race is well known in the state and certainly around the country, I think. Danica Rome, who was elected to the House of Delegates, now running against you for the state Senate. This is a biological man. This is a man who you're running against, who now lives his life representing himself as a woman. What is it like to run against him? And I remember in his original race for the House of Delegates, he had a tremendous amount of outside money coming in from all across the country to support the novelty of this candidacy, given his claim of being transgender.
Well, Delegate Rome is on her way to Hollywood this weekend to do a fundraiser in West Hollywood. So clearly nothing's changed. Still pulling in a great deal of funding from out of state. And that's problematic. It's problematic because a lot of what she's doing is in California. And we've seen through her record over the past 6 years where she's supporting the California ban on gasoline engines, forcing Virginians to buy electric cars. A lot of the other things around child protection laws, she's bringing back to Virginia. And I think it's time that we stand up as a community and say, we're not California, we're Virginia. And this is what we want to, we need to be able to make the decisions for us here.
Is this conversation about the way we treat kids in schools a subject of debate between you and Dan?
So I think that Danica did vote against Sage's law in the House, gave a very impassioned speech. But I think that, unfortunately, Delegate Rome's position was misguided. And I think that what ended up happening here was, instead of finding consensus, instead of working with her colleagues in the House of Delegates to find, some common ground, just rallied against a bill that could really protect and also save lives.
It's really insane. It's totally destructive to these kids, and I don't know how these Democrats feel like they can keep getting away with this, but they are. Tell me more about what you have going on tomorrow, Bill.
Yeah, so tomorrow, human trafficking is something that unfortunately is here in our community in Northern Virginia, throughout the Commonwealth. Governor Youngkin, Attorney General Miyares ran on fighting human trafficking and has done a fantastic job of mobilizing resources within the Commonwealth. But we know that what's really important, communities understand what's happening, because when we come together as community, we can fight back against these challenges. So tomorrow night at 6 p.m. At the Seton Gym, which is at 9314 Maple Street in Manassas, we're going to be doing a town community conversation on human trafficking. And we're going to be able to hear from a mom whose daughter was impacted by sex trafficking here in Northern Virginia. I'll be sharing some of my experiences, and we'll be talking about, what we do as community to prevent it, and what's the path forward in November as well.
Are you detecting energy in the 30th district right now for this election? I mean, how focused are people on actually turning out to the polls?
Vince, we're just seeing a lot of energy. I think people, it's very clear, people want change. In fact, we were knocking on doors yesterday. We were hearing from folks that says, listen, I want you to understand, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but you have my vote this November. They're tired of, one mother I talked to lost a son to fentanyl. And so we were able to talk a little bit about that. And she knew Delegate Rome's record voting against increased penalties for fentanyl dealers that maybe could have put somebody away and saved her child. People are tired of the failures that have been happening. They want change. They want civility. They don't want somebody shouting on the house of the floor, or the floor of the House, sorry. What they want is somebody that's willing to bring consensus, bring people together for common sense solutions, and that's exactly what we're offering.
Yeah, no kidding. The last piece here, of course, is that the Virginia Senate is so important right now because the House of Delegates is controlled by Republicans. Democrats have the Senate. How much changes if Republicans do get control of the state Senate?
I think what we're going to see across Virginia when the Republicans take control of the Senate is we're going to have some calm back in Virginia. The Democrats that are in control right now are continuing to play games. We've seen that with the budget that the governor's tried to push through. We're hearing rumors that maybe, we may have a compromise now, but the reality is for months they've been playing games with our budget. They've been playing games with getting through common sense legislation that puts money back into the hands of the taxpayers, especially at a time when cost of living is so high. They've been playing games with supporting our law enforcement, getting them the resources that they need, and really even addressing behavioral health services. The governor has made a priority in making sure that we can serve those that need mental health services across the Commonwealth. It's in the budget that he's presented, and the Senate Democrats have sat on that and said it's not a priority for us.
All right. Bill Woolf, Republican Virginia State Senate candidate in District 30, a former police detective, former head of the Human Trafficking Task Force. Good luck, Bill, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. We encourage everyone to help support our race. You talked about getting energy. We're seeing that energy, but we also need folks to donate. Go to Woolf, WOOLF, 4VA.com. Join our team. We need your support. We're going to get it done.
Yeah, all right. Bill Woolf, thank you, sir, very much. Really appreciate that. I hope everybody gets out there and votes. Yeah, it is amazing what we're dealing with here, isn't it? With, the left with their insatiable appetite to meddle with these children, to keep secrets, to groom them. That's very quite obviously. And I've noticed there's a bunch of people who've been coming out lately and saying, hey, this has gone really way too far. Have you seen this saga with Carlos Santana, the musician Carlos Santana? He apparently some time ago shared on stage. I think it was earlier this year. Do I have that right? It was earlier this year. It's from a couple months back, but it's finally getting some attention. And he told an audience on stage that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Now, there's nothing, it's just amazing. This is almost like Schoolhouse Rock or something. All he's saying is the most basic possible fact. And it's now attracting some controversy. Here's Carlos Santana.
There is no virtual reality. When God made you and me, before we came out of the womb, you know who you are and what you are. Later on, when you grow up and you see things and you start believing that you could be something that it sounds good, but you know it ain't right. Because a woman is a woman and a man is a man. That's it.
Can you imagine? People are cheering for basic statements of biology. That's how crazy things have gotten.
Whatever you want to do in the closet, that's your business.
Yeah, so, whatever you want to do in the privacy of your closet is your business, as Carlos Santana. But the basics here are a woman is a woman and a man is a man. Now, since then, we've seen a bit of a schizophrenic response over the last 24 hours after this video went viral, after people began seeing it. Carlos Santana's social media page, his Facebook page, featured an apology for a time in the last 24 hours now. And I say for a time, because I'll give you the update. He said something, he said, quote, "I'm sorry for my insensitive comments," his Facebook page said Thursday. "They don't reflect that I want to honor and respect all persons' ideals and beliefs. I realize that what I said hurt people, and that was not my intent. I sincerely apologize to the transgender community and everyone I offended." Here's the update. As of 10:30 this morning, it's been deleted from his Facebook page. The apology has been deleted, and this is something we've seen before. What was it? The recording artist Neo did this recently, where he had basically his publicist jumps on and issues some sort of statement from him as if it is directly from him. This is the way Biden's entire presidency is run, just so you know. Biden doesn't say anything on any of his social media platforms. It's whoever tells Coringe what to do posts these items. Somebody jumped in. This, at least from my perspective, Carlos Santana's publicist or somebody got to him, his recording label, and they posted on his Facebook page, "I sincerely apologize to the transgender community and everybody I offended." Well, maybe Carlos Santana became aware of what was on his Facebook page because it's been deleted. So I am kind of eager for the update on this story. I'd like to hear from Santana again and find out what's going on there. But you feel like the dam is breaking, don't you? You're beginning to see these major recording artists, these people, these influential people coming out and saying, "Yeah, I'm sick of playing this game. I just want to say what the truth is. The consequences be damned." And how old is Carlos Santana? He's an old man now. Carlos Santana. Let me look him up. Carlos Santana is an elderly fella with a storied career behind him, and I would guess plenty of money. He's 76 years old now. 76 years old. So now's the time. He's going to come out and start telling the truth using all of that accrued fame and power. All right, 4:51 now. I just got a notice from a listener saying that she's confused because she looked at Carlos Santana's Facebook page and sees that the apology is still live on his page. And I did the same thing, and it is live there. I guess I'll have to issue a correction here. The reason I believed it was deleted was because the New York Daily News has an entire article about how it was deleted today. So the Daily News appears completely wrong. I don't know what is going on here, but either way, Carlos Santana should not have apologized. That's the summary of this, for saying something that's objectively true. Objectively true. And now you see that there's another musician who's found himself in the same exact predicament. Alice Cooper, a man who wears makeup, he said that this effort to get kids to think that they were born in the wrong body is, quote, a fad, and he condemned this, quote, whole woke thing he just did in an interview this week. And now Alice Cooper's makeup company, the cosmetic company, Vampire Cosmetics, has dropped him. The New York Times, Post says that they market spooky and gothic-themed makeup, lipsticks, palettes, and lashes. Well, they lost the spooky guy. They're not with him anymore. They dumped him because he said something true. Yep, the truth will get you in trouble. Hold tight. Ahead on the program, Mike Davis will be with us just minutes away to talk about what is happening to the 45th president of the United States and our country.